Welcome to Out of the Blue. I'm Andrew Ottman, and we're broadcasting from the Student Union Building. What a great place to talk to two officials whose mission it is to provide opportunities for engagement for our students. Let's meet Justin Reed, Executive Director for Administration, and Dr. Danny Kelly, Interim Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. Justin, DK, welcome to Out of the Blue. We are really happy to be here in the Student Union, Justin, and you've described this to me as MTSU's living room. Talk about this whole place and what do we offer students, the facility itself, and what are you trying to achieve with all of the things that you're building here?
Sure, we do. We consider ourselves the living room of campus. We want to be the home away from home for students when they come to MTSU, to be able to find identity, find themselves, find their people, and find how they're going to engage with campus out of the classroom here. So we've got game rooms, esports centers, movie theaters, hangout spaces. That's a big thing about what we try to achieve, is place for students to just hang out and be a student.
How big is this place, Justin?
So we're about 215,000 square feet of student exploratory space. So
it's incredible. You know, we use it in a lot of our marketing materials because it's a beautiful building. About how old? About a little bit more than 10 years, right?
So it's about 13 years old.
Wow.
And then over the last year and a half or so, we've spent a little time doing some updating, some cosmetic updating.
A lot of cosmetic updating. It looks fantastic.
We got a lot of feedback from students that said that they didn't find a lot of MTSU identity in their student union. And so as we started researching and looking and talking with students, we started adding little pops here and there, and you know, it's kind of one of those things, the devil's in the details. So you look around, and you know, my goal is to see little nuggets everywhere. Like everywhere you turn, there's a little MTSU nugget that you can find.
And you really can. And I do want to congratulate you about this. You know, we're above the atrium lobby here. You can't see some of those little small details you're talking about, but down there is the True Blue Pledge. I've always loved that, and they're just little things like the logos on the mats and things like that, the flags of the different nations that are being represented by our student body, which is a real connection point as well. And you talked about how you're constantly changing this place. It seems like every other month I come in, I see something new, and you're investing to make sure that these students have these kind of amenities where it feels like home. That's a huge priority for you, right?
Yeah, it is. We want to make sure it never feels stale.
Yeah.
So we do. We rearrange furniture a lot. We move things around. We try to create new spaces and test. My team knows that I love to test a new idea for a new study space or a new hangout space, or how many students hang out in this space, or whatever it may be. So that has a big to do for us. The flags were a big addition last year as we were updating and trying to create spaces that students come in and they can see themselves. It's a little taste of home, that living room feel of what they're going to experience at MTSU.
That's awesome. DK, everybody calls you DK. This is Dr. Danny Kelly, the Vice President of Student Affairs, but my daughter, who was a student government senator, calls you DK. My son-in-law calls you DK.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to keep calling you DK. You know, let's talk about how the student union fits into the larger priority that you've set of student engagement, how students can basically, as Justin said, not only find themselves home here in the union, but home here on campus.
Absolutely. The Student Union has provided a great opportunity to increase the engagement of our students with various different activities, and that's critical to our philosophy, because research continues to tell us that the more students are engaged, that's going to increase their feeling of belonging, retention, and them wanting to stay in school, and then ultimately graduate. So having this facility really ties in nicely to that philosophy.
Justin, one of the things that I talk to students that are considering coming to MTSU, some of course are choosing to live on campus, some are choosing to live off campus, and my biggest piece of advice, I said, find yourself a base of operations. The student union is really that, right? You've got a parking garage connected with a pedestrian bridge that crosses into this. There are a lot of places that you can just kind of tuck away and get good Wi-Fi and study, meet with friends. That's important, right?
It's very important, and we find students will kind of set up their space, and it becomes their space sometimes for 4 years.
Right.
Like that becomes their stool in their corner, and you see the same student there every day, and they're doing their thing. But in a lot of ways, those are the students that we target to say, what can we do to make it better?
Right.
What we play music throughout the day, again, to keep the vibe going, to keep the engagement and the excitement going of being on campus. So we'll ask those students, what kind of music do you like, and make sure that we incorporate that into our playlists and into how we function.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the esports lounge, which is just behind us, and that's a relatively new development, right? I point to that as an example of, this is not a static building. This is not going to be. This is not your older brother or sister's student union anymore. You're always looking for new things, right?
We are, and the esports arena, our Level Up arena, was about 2.5 years in the making, getting it not only approved, but finding the right location and what does it all need to have and all those kinds of things. It has exploded our esports programs. They've almost doubled in the number of competitive teams over the last year because they attribute it to having a home and having a large enough home that they can come in. They have competitions, varsity and junior varsity, every day. Every evening. They've got multiple teams playing, multiple colleges and schools across the country. It's been a really, really cool thing.
It looks like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise in there. By the way, I mean,
Good,
when you see it, it's just incredible. So, DK, I mentioned my daughter and my son-in-law know you through student government. I know you've got a passion for all student groups, but Student Government Association, this is their home as well. Right. Talk to me about the importance of SGA in the Senate.
Very important. Student government over the years have really been very intentional in assessing the needs of students, and they do this through research. They're getting out there and talking to students about ways that the SGA and specifically the Senate can improve student life on campus, and they take their legislation very serious. In fact, the building you're sitting in was legislation that was introduced by the SGA Senate and ultimately passed by not only the Senate, but the student body as a whole through a referendum. Many of those students who voted on passing, well, probably all of them, unless they were on the 7-8-year plan as undergrads. We're not.
We don't do that anymore.
We don't. We're done with that. But none of them were on campus to enjoy the actual facilities after it was built. So that really shows the commitment as not only the Senate, but the student body, indicating even though we may not benefit from it as undergrads, we want to see this for future students to enjoy.
I love the fact that there's a plaque down on the first level commemorating that really sense of service to future students coming here. Justin, DK, thanks for letting us take part in the Student Union building and bringing the show here. Appreciate you both.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.